What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Millionaire in the Making podcast. My name's Gage.
Justin.
And we're back after a little bit of a break. And to be honest, this is Justin's guest. I'm going to go ahead and kick it to him, let him kind of do the intro for this one.
This is Chad. This is a very interesting guy. And the best way I can describe him is the end goal. That's the best way I can describe you to almost everyone who's ever asked about you. They've seen you out in public when I've talked to you. Someone will be like, who is that and what does he do? And when they see you out in the island, they're like, this guy is doing something that's just so far out of the norm. And from what I've heard, you've lived a very interesting life. So best way I can sum it up is he is the end goal for almost every younger guy. He's definitely my end goal, but let me stop hyping him up so much and give us a quick little elevator pitch on who you are and what you've done.
Well, my name's Chad Summerlin, and one of the things I do is start companies. And that seems like a very simple concept, but it's something that until you get into it, you don't understand the thrill, the acceleration, the sheer fun it is to start a company and have the thing grow and see your net worth in the money that you make increase. It's got to be better than any drug on the market out there. It's such an adrenaline high. I like to work out. That's where I see Justin at the gym all the time. But you know when you get the runner's high or the working out high, it's even better than that. And so it's like, man, why do people get addicted to, heroin or fentanyl or whatever when they can just start a business and get a lot better of a high and stuff. So what I do is start businesses. And what I mean by that is I've started businesses and they've started off small and some of them have grown and I've sold them. And I turn around and start other businesses and they grow and I wind up selling them as well. And what you'll find is, everything you do is not necessarily a home run, but you might have base hit after base hit, and then you occasionally hit a double. But then when the one business, it leads to this single and double. It leads to your home run. So that's what I've always looked at is, say for instance, in college, I started a car wash business. When you say, how does car wash business, did that make you, no, it didn't make me $1 million, but there wasn't a car wash around. So I started a car wash business and of course had all the girls that were cheerleaders and dancers and out there. So it was very successful, made some money at it, and turned around and when I got out, I started buying some rental property and, buying one rental property and then another one. And then before you know it, you have all these rental properties. And then it led me into the house building business. And then it eventually, all these businesses, what they do is they teach you something every time you get involved. So you get involved in these businesses and what happens is it leads you to your next step. So in my particular case, one of my biggest successes was an internet business. I do a lot of stuff on the internet, and it was airfilters.com, which is we sell and manufactured air filters. And if you look at it and you say, man, you had all these people. I just recently sold that business, but I started in my garage, and it wound up having 240 people working there. Everything came out of my garage, and had a good partner in there. We worked together real well. A lot of hard work, but you know what it was? It was very rewarding. That's what I always tell people is the very first business you start, you might not make enough money to retire on. You might not make $10 million or $20 million, but you've got to get started. That's what I tell everybody is, you got to do something. You got to figure out how to make a podcast to make money like you're doing, how to get into the real estate like you're doing and make money. You got to start because it will lead to other successes regardless of whether, but if you sit there and procrastinate and never do anything, you're not getting out of your comfort zone. You can't be afraid to fail. Everybody's heard that. And you can't worry about what, nowadays, of course, everybody's on TikTok, Reels, the whole 9 yards and stuff. It's very apparent that everybody is, wanting likes and, want to monetize. But you can't be worried about what other people think. And what I mean by that is high achievers don't like mediocre people. Mm-hmm. And mediocre people don't like high achievers. So there's going to be a lot of people that might be your friends, and you can still be friends with them, but they're really not going to like you. They're going to be either jealous of your success. They're going to say, hey, why are you doing this? And I hate to say it, but those people like that, you got to let them fall by the wayside.
100%. I think there's something I saw the other day, and it said most people want to see you succeed, but they don't want to see you do better than them.
That's
I think
right.
that's something that a lot of people, when they just break into the business phase, have to realize with their friends. It's
Yep.
like your friends don't really want to see you do better than them, and it's a weird thing that you deal with. I've dealt with it. I'm sure all of y'all have dealt with it. Was there a time, because there's a lot of people who watch this podcast who are thinking about starting that first business?
Yep.
Was there a time where you just had to will yourself to do it?
Well, with me, say for instance, this is a good example. I mean, there's no substitute for the hard work. That's an old saying and everything. The drive, you have to be disciplined, okay? Because there's two types of pain. There's the pain of regret or the pain of discipline. And I've never seen a successful person that wasn't disciplined. And what I mean by that is I love watching college football. I love going to the Alabama games, and we go to all the big games and the national championship and fly out wherever and make a week of it and, and just enjoy life and everything. But there was a time in my life, not only did I not have I had the money to go, but I didn't have the time to go. And not only did I not have the time, I didn't have the time to actually watch a Alabama football game on TV. Okay? And that's coming from somebody that loves sports, that loves college football, that loves baseball. I had to be disciplined and make the decision. And that's why, if I was going to work out, the only time I had was every morning at 4 o'clock at Omni. It opened at 4 o'clock, and that's what time we were there, or the YMCA in Summerlin. One of the two, we were there, and the only time, but you had to be disciplined. So if you're not disciplined, you've got to get disciplined, because you're not going to be successful unless you're disciplined in life.
100%. And for the viewers who are watching, don't let that go over your head. We live in Alabama, and Alabama football is a big deal.
Yeah.
And I mean, to not watch that or not even have time to do anything else besides work out at 4 a.m. is a big deal. So that shows a different level of dedication there.
If you're going to do something, you got to commit 100%. Everybody sees the boats and the cars and all this fancy stuff and everything now, but what they don't see was when I was up at that office and slept on the floor for 3 nights in a row, using the shower in my office, taking a shower, going to jog around the building or do some push-ups or sit-ups or something, because I didn't have time to go to the gym. I was having to do something, and they don't see that, and they're not going to see the hard work. They're going to see the end results.
Do you think that's a genetic thing, or do you think everybody's capable of that? Is that a good question?
Well, it's a very good question. Let me answer it this way. Okay, I'm all for education. I've got every degree out there. I've always been top of the class. The whole 9 yards. And I'm all for getting as much education and learning as much as possible. But at the same time, there were some people that were in my, say, MBA classes I wouldn't have hired to sweep the floor.
Yeah.
There's a saying, and I have it on my phone, and I have it on my computer, and it's an old saying. It's by one of the former presidents, and he talks in there. It's like Calvin Coolidge, and he talks in there about persistence and determination being omnipotent. In other words, that's everything. You can go through men that have this ability. They have talent, but they're not successful. You see that all the time. You're like, this guy, why isn't he successful? He's got all the talent in the world. He can, but he's not willing to. That persistence and that dedication, and that's where I like to find people like that to do business with. Is because when they're driven like that, they might not have the money to do it, which you can help provide. They might not have the education. If they're persistent and they're determined, I'd rather have that person in the foxhole with me than, say, for instance, anybody that's, wants to just sit up there and, I guess, just tell people what to do or whatever, but you've got to get out there and you've got to get into something. You need to do it today. Before you go to sleep tonight, you need to write down a list of what you can do to start a business tonight. Not tomorrow, tonight. You need to action this day. What is it that you're going to do to make you money tomorrow? Now, that doesn't mean you're going to get checks in the mail tomorrow, but what are you going to do to start right now tonight to get there, to start you on the path of success?
Okay. So does somebody pick what they're passionate about or what's in demand right now? I'm sure that you were not passionate about air filters, but you saw a little blip in the marketplace that you could take advantage of.
Yes. I'm always looking at what is the market, because like you said, air filters and online business, I'm a numbers guy. I'm an accountant by trade, so I look at balance sheets and income statements and all that good stuff like that. And air filters, I couldn't find a size air filter for my house. And I went to Walmart, Home Depot, Lowe's, Ace Hardware. Nobody had them. And I built this brand new house, and this guy, I called up my contractor, was like, hey, bro, you put a weird size air filter in my house. He's like, no, they're not weird. You just can't find them anywhere. I'm
Thanks.
like, yeah, thanks, dude. I mean, so he ordered me these cheap fiberglass, throwaway filters. And I put them in there, and then I said, well, I'm going to try to find something nice, new house. You want to take this thing and you don't want a cheap fiberglass filter in there. So I ordered me one of these washable type filters. I don't know anything about filters. I know I paid I still remember I paid $109.93 for a filter. I mean, that's a lot of money when you just build a new house and you're trying to buy furniture and everything else like that. So I get this and I put it in, and it quit cooling my house. So I got one of my buddies that was at the gym. I was like, man, can you stop by? You come right by my house on the way home. Can you stop by and see what's wrong? He's like, Chad, these filters are junk. You need to take it and throw it away. I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? I just paid $109 on that filter. He's like, they're garbage. He said, I said, what type of filter should I get? He said, well, these pleated filters. And I was like, well, where do you find them? He said, that's the hard problem. You can't find them anywhere. So that started me thinking, and I started doing some research. And then a few days later, some people were in my office, and we was talking, and they're like, man, I was trying to figure out brainstorming ideas, kind of like we were doing, just sitting around the table talking. What's something we can sell on the internet? Because, the internet was brand new. I mean, kind of like the artificial intelligence is now.
So what time was this? What time did you start this company?
In the early 2000s. And so
didn't even have iPhones.
Yeah, perfect time.
Right. So one of the guys said, well, I can never, I said, what is it that Walmart doesn't have? One guy said, well, I can never find my filters. I said, well, that just happened to me. I just started doing all the research, and that's how I started the company. And what I'm saying is you can tell 99.9% of the people your ideas, because it doesn't matter. I told I was getting my MBA at the time, and I told my whole class, my MBA class, and I said, this is the company I'm going to start. I'm thinking about starting an air filter company. I'm going to start it here. This is what I'm going to do. What do you guys think? Well, no, there was 30-something people in the class. Nobody liked that. I think one person said, well, if you quit, you got a great job. If you quit your job, I guess you can always find another one. That's what somebody told me. So nobody thought it was a good idea. I went to all the financial people around Mobile, all the smart financial people I knew. And, I mean, they listened, but nobody was interested in investing. Nobody was interested in fairness. They've got a million things going on. They're making money. Here's some kid here that's saying this is what they want to do. And so all I'm saying is it doesn't matter what everybody else thinks. It really doesn't. If I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it regardless. If everybody tells me it's a bad idea, when I went to C3M to see about getting started in this business, they all told me, they were like, son, you're going to lose your money. That's what they told me. They said, you're going to lose. Well, they didn't realize I didn't have that much money. You know what I mean? The money I had was tied up in real estate and I wasn't liquid and so forth, So they all told me, well, you know what? I said, I'm going to do it anyway. I don't care what they say. And so I was very glad I did, and that's what I would encourage people. It doesn't matter what other people say. Those mediocre people out there, they want you to have a good job and want you to be able to pay your bills, and they want you to be able to pay on a house. They want you to be able to pay on a boat. They want you to be able to pay on a vacation and pay on your credit card bills. But they don't want, like you're talking about, they don't want you to be able to just, write a check for $1 million boat.
Yeah,
they don't want
you. How you want.
Yeah, you go whenever you want to you decide what you want to do and stuff, So all I'm saying is that's exactly right. You've got to get out there and do something.
That was around the peak time of the internet too, where diapers.com, flowers.com, just the domain name alone for something like airfilters.com is probably like a $200,000, $100,000 domain name now alone.
Yeah, and at the time I was able to get like filters. Now I couldn't get airfilters.com at first but I did same thing you told me about this house that you bought here. Mm-hmm. How long did it take you to buy this house? 10 years?
10 years.
10 years. It took me, 7-8 years to buy airfilters.com. This contractor in Denver had it. I called the guy every month. I would send him an email. I had it on my pop-up calendar. Every other month I would call him. Well, times he wouldn't talk to me because I've called him so much. And every other month I'd send him an email, call him every other month. So when he eventually needed money, I was the first one he called. Mm-hmm. And I was able to acquire the domain name. It's kind of like you with this
Mm-hmm.
house. If you wouldn't have been persistent on this house, Justin, you wouldn't have it.
Yeah, no.
But for 10 years, you tried to buy it, and at the end,
How much do you pay for that domain name, if you mind sharing?
I think I paid $55,000
Okay,
for it.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you didn't
Yeah.
get it at the time where it was like dirt cheap. You had to actually.
Yes, I had to
Okay.
actually pay for it,
Okay.
but
Yeah, but you definitely made profit on it.
Oh,
yes,
100%.
yes, and that's worth something when you went to sell the business and stuff. Yeah. But yes, for the whole, later on, I was offered $200,000, $250,000 for the. Of course, I didn't want to sell it because we was making more money than that. I mean, but it was definitely worth the investment. But if I wouldn't have been persistent, if I wouldn't have stuck with it and everything, if I wouldn't have been disciplined, I called or emailed that guy every single month for 7-8 years.
What was he doing with it? Just holding it, or just?
He was an HVAC contractor, and he didn't know anything about the internet, because that's the misperception. I mean, anybody can, especially now with Shopify and all this. I had to build my own check out, the own back end, the cart, the whole. Nowadays, we can go and sell water bottles on Shopify before the end of the day. So, but what I'm saying is, this guy, he was an HVAC contractor installing ACs. Well, one day, if he ever gets in the internet business, he's going to blow it up with this stuff. Well, he's opened up a website. I'm like, well, man, dude, I'm not going to be able to buy the thing now. But he opened up the website, but he didn't know how to market it. Anybody can open up a website. It's getting the traffic there and actually getting sales. That's a big difference and stuff. So he had tried that and wasn't successful with it. So I knew I was going to be able to, it still gave me hope to get it, and eventually I did. So
Yeah, I think that's a huge lesson. Persistence pays. At the end of the day, it does. I think that's nowadays, because you have social media, everybody's dealing with lady in the red dress syndrome. Like, I personally dealt with it really bad. Like, I would start this business, and I'm like, oh, that one looks cool over there. He's making a lot of money. Let me jump to that.
Yeah.
Let me jump to that. But, I mean, I truly believe now that I've gotten some closure on it, and just based off what you said, too, that if you stay persistent at one thing for a long period of time, it's probably going to do better than trying this, that, and the other.
I looked at it one time. Somebody asked me, was at dinner, and they said, Chad, what would you have done different in this business? I said, well, I would have sold lamps. And they're like, lamps? I was like, yeah, and microphones and plates. And they're like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, well, I just concentrated on filters, and Amazon concentrated on everything.
Yeah.
But Amazon is I'm not saying somebody listening here couldn't be the next Jeff Bezos, but what I'm saying is, by me focusing on the air filters, I was able to really, make that business grow. Is what you're saying, because I had all these opportunities. Another thing I was so close to getting in, two different things, was lights. You say lights, well, man, there is so many. If you go to one of these shows, there's so many different vendors for lights and different types. It's unbelievable. Now they've got E-lights and all this. I believe I would have been successful at. The other thing was bats. And you say, bats. And I'm like, well, if you look, the kids have to buy new bats every year. They've got different sizes, different weights, different handles. And at the time, you didn't have to have like a store. I was going to sell bats online. Some of the AI stuff right now would be great, because you could see yourself hitting with it. So what I'm saying is, those were two areas that I believe, no way to prove it, but I believe on the internet I would have been very successful selling that, because those were two things that, and see, this is what blows me away. The people that bought me, they made their money in mailboxes. Like, mailboxes, why do you say? Well, they said used to, you would go to Walmart or Home Depot or Lowe's, they have a black mailbox and a white mailbox, two black mailboxes, two white mailboxes in a corner. That's it. And they said, well, they wanted to make these molded mailboxes and all this stuff, all these different designs. And now some of the stores you go in, they have 8-foot sections of it. So they made hundreds of millions of dollars selling mailboxes. Well, how many times each one of us get in the mail? I didn't think of that.
Every new house is a new mailbox.
That's right.
More people are getting born every year.
That's right. So it's things like that are right in front of you. I read the story about the 5-hour energy, where that dude's from like India, and he made so many hundreds of millions. But all he did was he didn't invent a new product. These guys that bought me, I didn't invent an air filter. Okay. I changed the distribution method. So what I changed was, at the time, everybody was trying to sell truckloads to Walmart, Home Depot, and Lowe's. And I wanted them this filter manufacturer, I wanted them to send 4 filters to John Smith in Texas. 4 filters instead of a truckload. And they're like, okay, we can. Well, I was asking them to do something they couldn't do, because they were used to shipping truckloads. I wanted to ship 4 filters. They were so far, weeks behind. So I was like, okay, I got to bring the business in and do it myself. So obviously you've got to have a little bit of business, sixth sense there to know what to do to make things grow. But what I am saying is you don't have to invent a new product. You just change the distribution method. The mailboxes, they didn't invent a new mailbox. It was already a mailbox. They just changed the same way with the 5-hour energy. If you look at the ingredients on that, me and you go to the gym all the time, and you buy the energy drinks. What's in them?
Caffeine, beta-alanine.
That's right. B6, B12, niacin. You know the ingredients. We all do. Only thing he did was take that 16-ounce bottle and condense it down to a 5-hour energy shot, put some proprietary whatever, But my point is, he got traction immediately when he started selling them in gas stations. Everybody wanted that 5-hour energy boost. Well, you could go to the gym ounce-wise and buy one a lot cheaper for 16 ounces. He didn't invent the 5-hour energy. He had a good marketing plan behind it. But now, every time I go to get one of those, I get mad and I throw it away because I'm like, man, I didn't think about that. How many times have we went to the gym and went right by that cabinet there? That was hundreds of millions of dollars sitting in that cabinet, and we missed it.
You want to know something cool he did? He kind of pioneered it in the marketing space. You ever notice every gas station you go to, 5-hour energy is on the counter?
Yeah.
Right there, right before you check out. So you have to see it.
See it.
100% chance you're going to see it every time. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the big proponents as to why he did get as big as he did.
And, I mean, now he's trying to get, clean water for the earth. I mean, doing a lot more with it than us three probably would, But what I'm saying is he's going to keep only $50 million. That's the only thing he's going to keep. He's giving the rest of his money away.
Yeah, 100%. So I got a question for both of you guys. You said something earlier and it kind of made me curious. So what would you say on a scale of 1 to 10 the opportunity level was for air filters? Would you say it's an 8, a 9?
That's like an 11 out of 10 because it's a subscription-based model.
I'm just talking about at the time. At the time when you started, did you think it was like a level 7 opportunity, level 8, level 9?
Well, I knew at the time I had a product that was hard to find. They've got basic sizes, and they've got about, if you go to Walmart right now, you're probably going to find about 10 different sizes. Well, we wound up with 220, 230 different sizes. So I knew there was a demand for these odd type sizes. I didn't know how much of a demand. One of the things that I always tell people too is, at one time I had 5 jobs at the same time. I was teaching some undergraduate classes at night at the University of Mobile. I had, house building, rental houses, my full-time job. I'd started Filters Now. So eventually, like you're talking about, you've got all these opportunities. You've got to say, what is the one I want to focus on and think has the most potential? Which one is it and stuff? So that's what you've got to do. You've got to look at and like you said, give them a rating there and say, which one of these can I make the most money on? I like the internet businesses from the fact that you're not limited to your local area. I like being able to sell. To me, it gave me an unlimited market. If you start a business, and not saying there's anything, a lot of people have made a lot of money starting a local business. But when you do start a local business, it's confined to that particular area. I mean, there might be something closed in that area. It might hurt your business. Internet, man, it's just so broad.
Yeah, so robust. So going back to the scale, let's say Filters Now when you started it was an 8, 9, 10 on the potential scale. Justin, too, you would say real estate at the time for you was like a 8 or 9, 10, one of the better opportunities you could see?
It was a solid 10 out of 10 in my book.
Okay, so if both of you guys had a 3 on the scale, do you think you could make it work? Just based on trying to figure out the psyche here. Do you think you can make it work? If you had no other option, you had a 3 potential opportunity in front of you.
Well, I think I can make money, but the question is how much money. So a lot of businesses as you start, you can make a living at it. But if you're going to take your businesses that I get into, you spend a lot of time at them. If you're going to take your time and you're going to work up there to midnight every night and you're going to make this thing grow and you're just making a living, you can just get a regular job and not have all the headaches. So all I'm saying is there's nothing wrong with getting that 3 business, that's a 3 ranked business, and maybe you can move it to a 5 and then you sell it and then you move on to something else. Hopefully that 3 business leads you to the 6 business, and the 6 business leads you to the 9. Or you're working on the 3 business and you get a 10, I
mean, that's kind of similar to Amazon, for example. Started off selling books. Now they sell everything in the world.
That's right.
So taking some nothing to something. But yeah, I'm curious. When you started Air Filters, did you build it to sell? Like, did you know you were going to exit that eventually, or were you just like, I'm just going to build this business up as big as I can?
Well, the more successful you get in businesses, you always get people that come in and want to buy your product, whether it's houses or, it doesn't matter what it is. If you're successful at it, people are going to. So I would always listen to people, but I didn't, quote unquote, build it to sell. But I knew one day somebody was going to hit the right price.
The number.
Yeah, and it's just like if your house that you live in, you don't necessarily want to sell it. I mean, you got the walls painted the way you want it, you enjoy it. But if somebody comes knocking on the door and they say, hey, this is what I'm willing to give you, and it's more than what you think you could get, I mean, I would sell my house today,
Yeah, no, for sure. So is there any other, or just would you mind listing off some of the other businesses you tried over the years?
Well, like one of the ones I just sold it to my partner is it's a company, it's an internet company called MITM, and we did dresses, like women's dresses and bikinis. Now, believe this or not, but I don't look good in a bikini, I mean, I know that's probably hard for you guys to believe, but Maddie does real well with that, and me and her started that business. We were talking at a wedding, and she's very into fashion, and started talking. It's like, hey, I'll put up the money, let's get in. Maddie was very aggressive and a great business partner, and she still has that business today and everything. She's just had a baby, so she's but it's given her the flexibility to have the baby and spend time at home with it and still work the business and stuff like that. But here again, we started that out of my garage until it got big enough to move it and so forth. So all I'm saying is on your business is don't be scared to. I never know anything about the businesses I get into, and that sounds crazy. I knew nothing about air filters. I know nothing about women's dresses and bikinis. I know which ones look good on a girl, but that's about it. I have an electrical company now. We do all these Love's travel stops all across the country. Right now we've got them going on. 2 of them in Arizona, 1 of them in New York, 1 in North Carolina, 1 in Mississippi. I mean, we do. Love's builds these travel stops all across the country, and so we've got guys from one coast to the other. Now, I couldn't change I can change a light bulb, but I could not. I don't know anything about electricity. Okay, so it doesn't scare me to get into a business I don't know anything about. Today, I had some guys at my house. They're looking at they're framing the house. I'm enclosing the beach house, so they're doing some work. I was asking them, I'm like, what do you guys like to do? They're young, they're 19, 20 years old, and they said, well, we like to build pole barns. I'm like, well, what's a pole barn? I don't know anything about construction, even though I've had house building companies. And so they told me, well, it's these barns, it's shaped so much, and you can have the enclosed top or not enclosed and everything. So last night, I just sat on my computer and I was like, hey, I want you guys to give me some prices about what it would cost to make these. I have no idea about it. So they give me prices, and I was like looking at it. I'm like, well, we could be competitive at these prices. We could, we could get some money. Business, I know how to do the internet side of it. So as of last night, I might get into the pole barn business. I really don't even know what one is, Yeah. So that's all I'm saying is don't be scared to try things. If it doesn't work, you can always go back to doing what you were doing before. I know that sounds crazy, but that's what I tell people when I have one of the things I always do. I always stop and listen to people because I've been on the other side of the desk. I've been there. The very first business I tried to start, I was in high school and senior in high school, and there was these used storage. And there wasn't but like 2 or 3 of them in Mobile. Now they're on every single corner. Mm-hmm. At the time, there was one on Halls Mill Road. There's one on like Moffitt Road. There wasn't very many places. So man, I got all the specs. I did all the work. I called. I knew the capacity. How many? You got to do your homework. It's like buying a piece of property. You buying real estate. You got to do your homework. Well, I knew what the capacity was. These things were full. There was great because there was no liability. If somebody broke into the thing, it wasn't on you. I could do it with very few, not staff. I could go and meet somebody there because you didn't have to be there all the time. You can, hey, call this number here and I'll come rent you a storage building, a storage facility. Well, I found out exactly how much it would cost. I got quotes for the contractors, all this stuff like this. And I went to 42 different banks and credit unions, 42 of them. Mobile, Tuscaloosa, Biloxi, Pensacola. They all told me no. They're like, you're 18 years old, you don't have a job. I was playing football in college, or just went to college. You're playing football, you don't have a job, you have no collateral. It's a great idea, but we can't loan you the money. And I'm like, well, this guy won't loan. I can go and ask enough people that persistent thing to loan me the money. Well, young, and I didn't get the money because, I really didn't have any of that. I didn't know anybody that was willing to give me $100,000. The business would have worked. So I know what it means to be on the side of so now what I do when people, I always listen. I always take time out. If they're willing to come to my office and sit down and talk with me, I don't care who it is. I have a lot of people in the gym that'll say, hey, will you talk? Well, I'm working out now, but you come to my office tomorrow, we'll sit down and go over everything. Because now that's not saying I'm going to invest in every single idea out there, because some of it is,
a little outlandish.
Yes, but I'm willing to listen to anything. So, because it might give you another idea, or you might, hey, what if you've got multiple people that's ask you about this business? You don't have to be the smartest guy in the world to say, hey, if 2 or 3 people is asking me about this type of a business, then maybe it will take off.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm starting something within the coming weeks, and I'm building it to sell. Like, I know it's going to sell. It's in the creator economy. I'm not sure if you're familiar with what that is, but it's like all these TikTok creators, Instagram creators, people making these content. It's growing. Like Goldman Sachs predicted, right now it's like 225 billion is like the market cap or whatever for that. Right. It's predicted to be like 2 trillion by 2027. And there's this niche inside of there, like a new marketing ecosystem that I can sprout, regardless of what the business is. I'm building it to sell. What advice would you give somebody like me starting out when doing this? Like, if I know I want to exit, I know I can probably exit in 2 to 3 years. What advice would you give me in the beginning?
If you know for a fact it's going to be a flip, then I would run it like it was going to be a flip. It's like when you're buying, I buy a lot of and sell a lot of options. Same with stocks. I'm not a day trader, but I buy long-term dividend producing stocks. But there is sometimes I buy things for a trade, a short-term trade. And like I said, I'm not a day trader at all, but I'm buying this for, the next earnings report, that's 30, 90 days from now. And so I know that, hey, if I get into this, I'm not trying to hold this stock for the next 10 years. I mean, it's not, Procter & Gamble or one of the boring stocks like that, or it's not Microsoft that you can just put your money into and just let it ride there. So if you want to flip it, then, that's a little bit of a different business mindset from the fact that, hey, I'm not going to necessarily put the capital into, if you knew you were going to sell this house and it would sell as is, why would you go and build a 2-car garage underneath it and spend $200,000 doing it? You wouldn't get your money back out of it. So that would be the biggest thing. It's okay. I mean, it's great doing it for a flip. If you're going to flip it, I would just be, mindful of the amount of dollars you have to spend up front if you know it's not going to be for long term.
Okay, so what was your end goal when you were 18?
When I was 18...
Did you think you were going to be where you're at right now?
Well, when I was 18, the only thing I was really worried about was playing ball, making my grades, and, having fun. Mm-hmm. And just being, it's okay to have fun. I mean, there's work hard, play hard. But even, like I told you, my major was in accounting. Well, I played football and it took a lot of your time. A lot of my buddies were into things that, they were degrees, but they were, I don't know, woodshop degrees or something like that, but I was having to, I would still go to the parties, but I was having to come in at 2 o'clock in the morning and sleep for 2 hours and get up at 4 and read chapters in accounting book, boring stuff, But I was still disciplined enough to do that because I knew I wanted my grades and I wanted to be at the top of the class. So it's, and usually I was the one having the parties. I always, had a big house and had the parties and had all the fun and everything. But at the same time, I was still disciplined enough to say, hey, I knew I was going to go to college. I knew I was going to graduate from college. I knew I was going to get my master's. I wish I could tell you I knew that I was going to do airfilters.com or anything else like that. I didn't know, but I knew I wanted to do something in the business world. And it's kind of weird because I'm a people person. I like talking. Most accountants are not. I'm not your typical accountant, and I don't like to sit behind a desk all day long, even though I did a lot of it. A lot of it's required, desk work and everything, because you have to, on the internet, you're in front of a computer all day. But it was a perfect fit from the fact that I learned so much about when I first got out of school. I went to work at a company called Industrial Valve. Great owners, privately held, and man, they let me help them run the business, and made a few good suggestions and good ideas, and it was just, I learned so much. You can learn a lot of stuff through a book, but I learned so much about actually how to run a company and how to manage a business and what to do and what not to do. I can't even thank those guys enough, because they put their trust and their faith in me. It was the drive to help Industrial Valve grow. And so I was sitting on the company, but I was still up there to midnight. But it got rewarded in the long term from the fact that they kept moving me up in salary and all that. So when I went to leave, obviously I could have stayed there, had everything you wanted in a job. But you know what? I would still be paying on a house, paying on a boat, paying on this. I mean, I might have eventually got it paid off or whatever, but all I'm saying, if you want to make money, you've got to own your own business. Unless you're going to be the CEO of a Fortune 500 company. Yes, I mean, if you've graduated from Harvard or Yale or Wharton School of Business, yes, you don't necessarily have to. You can go to work for somebody and make $1 million a year or whatever. But if you're not one of those people that's graduating from Wharton or Harvard or something like that, the way to make money is to start your own business.
100%. And you said, I'm curious about your thought process here. You said you knew you wanted to start a business, but you went to college. What was the thought process with that?
Well, I was fortunate enough to have all these different scholarships to play football and baseball and all that good stuff. So, but I still knew I wanted to get a degree, and that's where my parents beat that into your head that, hey, you're going to college. My dad worked at one of the plants in Mobile, just like most people that live in Mobile, and so I remember one day I was real young, and we was on my way to my dad's work, and they were having a thing for the kids and all that, and I said, when I get old enough, I want to go to work where Dad works. It was Occidental Chemical, and still in the business and everything. My mom, I still remember to this day, she pulled off the side of the road and she stopped the car. She turned around because we was in the back seat, buckled up and all that. And she said, "You are not going to go to work there. You are going to go to college, and you're going to make more money. You're not going to go to work for one." And there's nothing wrong with going to work at a plant. I'm not trying to say that. It's great jobs and it's a great living and it's a great way to take care. But my mom told me, said, "Hey, you're going to, everybody wants their kids to do better." I knew that I was going to go to college, and I knew I was going to do something in business, because I didn't necessarily want to sit behind a desk 24/7. And that was what the first company, Industrial Valve, gave me, and that's what some of the other companies gave me, the fact that it was invaluable because I can read financial statements, and I know what a balance sheet is, I know what a statement of cash flows, I know how to read it, I know it helps me in acquiring businesses. So if I want to buy a business, and if I'm looking, so all of that helps, and it really gave me a great foundation to utilize the numbers, because I run businesses off financial statements. I don't run them off in gut, or I'll look at the numbers. The numbers will tell you what to do. And so, but that's not saying everybody's got to be an accountant. You don't. But you do have to have a base knowledge. There's plenty of books out there. I read a lot of books. Read them on my iPad, and every month, I'm always reading a book. Most of them are business related. I'm not really into fiction and all that stuff like that, but it really, you can become, there's plenty of books out there that teaches you how to read financial statements and different things like that help you in your business, that you don't have to be an accountant to understand what they're talking about.
100% agree. I think it's just time in the game. Like, you understand more by just doing it. Like, there
That's
was
right.
Who was it? I think my grandpa told me at a young age, he's like, if you want to be successful, because he's a business owner, he owns the oldest piano store in the Southeast. He's like, if you want to be successful, because he saw me trying to figure it out in high school, didn't want to go to college. He said, go find somebody who's doing what you want to do and learn from them.
Yep.
And I've heard it all over the place now on podcasts, but like I think that's the most valuable thing you can do.
Yep.
Like if somebody wants to, be successful in the online space, they should come learn from you.
Right.
Somebody wants to be successful in real estate, go hang out with Justin.
That's right.
I think that's the best way to do it versus, just if you can go on your own, you're going to fail, but you might be able to cut out a little bit of the failure by learning under somebody else. You just may not get there as fast.
Yeah, and most people are willing to, if you approach them the right way, people love to talk about their businesses and what they've done to be successful, but you got to approach it the right way. I mean, you can't catch the guy when he's in a fire drill and he's got all this stuff going on, but if you respectfully ask for some of his time, I've never had anybody turn me down from that. Now they might say, hey, I can't meet with you this week. It's going to be 2 weeks from now. I'm going to Europe or something like that. But, at the end of that 2 weeks, I'm calling him because he gave me the okay. He might put me off another 2 weeks, but I would eventually get to that person and stuff. And I always try to learn something from them. So that's what I'm saying is you're exactly right. The more people you can surround yourself with that are successful, the more chances you are of being successful as well.
So how was that for you, particularly in the time where your businesses started to do well, and in that grind stage? Were you lonely? Like, did you have a lot of people that were around you that you felt like were on your wavelength and you could talk to and stuff like that?
It's hard to find people in that same grind, and it's very hard to reach out and find somebody that's going through the same thing, because a lot of times, like a lot of your friends, you have a big party and everybody comes and it's fun, and girls come, the guys come, it's a great big party, but at the end of the night, there's really not that many people that you can find to confide in, at least in my experience and stuff.
100% agree.
Yeah, so it is difficult. So when you do find them, it's great to have somebody you can pick up the phone and say, hey, I'd like to just be in your ear on this. Do you have 5 minutes? And if you tell them 5 minutes, you need to, at the end of 5 minutes, you say, hey, I said 5 minutes, I'm done. And if they keep going, that's a different story. But if you respect people's time, but it is very difficult to find somebody that's on that, because when you're that determined to be successful, you guys can laugh at this, but one of the things I used to tell my mom when I was in high school is like, hey, I'm going to be a millionaire. I'm going to be, before I turn 30, somehow I'm going to be a millionaire and stuff, And so it was just, I was so happy to eventually tell my mom, look here, this is my personal financial statement, and I beat the goal. I told you before 30 I was going to be a millionaire, and here's my net worth here,
That's awesome.
So and like I said, that doesn't necessarily mean everything's liquid at the time and everything else like that, but you've got to get out there, and like I said at the first of this podcast, you have to get started. I can't emphasize that enough. You have to get started, because you will blink your eyes, the next thing you know, 20 years is gone, and you're going to be in that same spot if you're not taking action today, not tomorrow, action now. What are you going to do before you go to bed tonight to be successful tomorrow? What is it? And it might be something as simple. People in the gym ask me all the time, like, what type of workout do I need? What type of this? I'm sure you get it, Justin. Everybody's got. I tell them at first, I was like, hey, wake up at 6, eat breakfast at a certain time at 6 o'clock, 6:30, whatever time it is. Eat another meal at 12. Eat another meal at 5. Eat another meal at 7, and go to bed by 11 o'clock. Well, that don't have anything to do with working out. Well, you've got to get disciplined enough to where you can wake up at the time you say you're going to. You can eat when you're supposed to eat if you want to be a bodybuilder, You've got to do these things. It's the discipline. Eventually, then you can put the workout routines and everything. But, hey, set your goal tomorrow. I'm going to wake up at 5 o'clock tomorrow, eat a breakfast. If you normally skip, I'm going to eat breakfast at 6 o'clock. This is what I'm going to. And write your goals down. I know that's an old saying, but write your goals down and make them simple and attainable. The first day, the first week, hey, I'm going to wake up at 6, I'm going to go to bed by 11. I'm not going to spend all night up on TikTok. Everybody's been there scrolling through TikTok, and next thing you know, 3 hours has gone by, and you wake up and you're groggy the next morning, and you got to make it through the day. set you a goal, write it out, and say, this is what time I'm going to wake up, this is what time I'm going to go to bed, this is what time I'm going to eat my 3 meals today, and see if you can do those simple things. And then if you do that, then it's easier the next time to write your goal down to where you can achieve it. So it's setting your goals and being disciplined enough to, like I said, I've never met a successful person that wasn't disciplined.
100%. That's that confidence builder, because a lot of people that are probably asking you these questions in the gym don't have the confidence to think they can do it.
Right.
And then when they meet that goal, it starts to click in their brain. They're like, holy crap, I can do this.
Right.
And then boom, momentum takes over from there.
That's right. You've got to do something to be successful. And that is what is so important. You got to get out there. You got to get started. And because if you don't get started, you're going to turn around and a year's gone by, 6 months, 2 years, and you're still working at the same job, and you're still not happy, and you're still you haven't made a lot of progress in your financial. If you're going to set a goal to read 1 book a month, set a goal and hit it. I mean, it needs to be something. Or if you want to take a real estate seminar, or don't wait. I mean, go ahead, find the real estate, set the thing up, sign up for it, and figure out how you can make money.
100%. I don't know how much you know about Justin, but he had this thing. It was essentially goal building, but he had a 10-year plan. Is there any advice you would give to the audience? Like you said, your goal was to become a millionaire by 30.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any advice you'd give on setting these long-term goals? Like, do you think that played a big part in your success? You're like, I'm going to get that. Did you think about that every day waking up? Was that something that was a big part of your life?
Well, I'm a very driven person. It was, I don't want to say easy, but it was something that I enjoyed. I enjoyed the grind of it. It's kind of like when I see, Kobe Bryant one time, he said, you have to edit your life. And what did he mean by that? What do you mean by editing your life is you got to look around and you've got to get all these distractions, all these mediocre people, everything that's keeping you from going toward this goal. You've got to edit your life and get rid of all that. Get rid of the noise. Nick Saban talks about the noise, the outside noise. Kobe talks about editing your life. They're talking about the same thing. There's probably 100 different ways to put that, but basically you've got to focus on it to where these are my goals, and you don't have to go out and post on Instagram or Facebook that this is what I'm going to. I mean, let your actions show people. I mean, the people are going to talk about you, especially the more successful you are. They're going to. I mean. But eventually, that's not something that bothers you because, hey, you're making money and they're not.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it kind of plays into the thing of like only really listen to people who are where you want to be. Like if somebody's pushing carts at Walmart, are you really going to care if they're talking about you? Probably not.
Right.
But if it's a big dog, top 500 CEO, tripling your income, you're probably going to listen.
That's exactly right. Mm-hmm.
So I think that's something a lot of the viewers can take from is like, look at where the other person's at that's talking about you and kind of evaluate your life first there and see if it's something you should actually take into account. But most times it's not.
Common question I get, where do you find more successful people to network with?
Yeah, that's very difficult.
That's a hard one.
Yes, that's very difficult. A lot of times if you go to, now, I might donate money to a certain organization or group or something like that. And sometimes on those boards that I sit on, you might find somebody there because they've obviously have been successful because they're able to donate X amount of money as well. And so that's one place that I've, found other people. And then, that's the good thing about the reason I like the gym is because you got to be disciplined to do it. But then you meet people from all walks of life there. You meet some guy that, is living out of his car, and then the next guy you meet, he was CEO of Applebee's, and here in Orange Beach. That's the way it is. You meet the guy that was CEO of Applebee's, and you meet the guy that was living out of his car, and there's all kind of mix of people in between. That's one place, but it is very hard. I used to go to some of those Chamber of Commerce events and all that stuff like that, and try to help on the networking and all that stuff like that. But I had to actually cut a lot of that stuff out of my life too, because I just didn't have time. I mean, it was either the business be successful, or do I want to take this position to help I live in Summerlin in Orange Beach, back and forth, but when they were starting the school system, Chad, do you want to help with this? And yes, it would have been a great thing for me to help the community and do, but I had to decide. I have all these businesses, all this stuff going on. What's it going to do to my businesses? And so, you have to politely decline and kind of actually take yourself out of some of those once you start really focusing on because what I found is people, the more successful you are, people are going to find you, and they're going to reach out to you. They're going to call you if you want to. Hey, do you want to join me here? Do you want to fly to Italy here, or whatever? You know what I'm saying, with us for this week, or do you want? They're going to come to you, and they're going to present you with opportunities and different things like that. And so it's something that I don't necessarily really go looking for, but I try to talk to everybody and be nice to everybody, and because you never know, the guy living out of his car could be the next guy that, hey, he's done come up with an idea and he's hit it big.
Yeah, I can say every time I've ran into you, I've never had an inclination that you just didn't want to talk or have any, every person that's ever walked up to him, I've seen him just give the time of day to. Respectfully at least. Right.
And I enjoy people, and I enjoy talking to them, and I enjoy trying to help businesses grow. And like I said, that doesn't mean you're always going to hit a home run. That doesn't mean you're not going to get some threes that you thought could be eights or whatever else like that. I mean, everybody's, you do enough businesses, you've been there. You'll find some that, hey, this isn't exactly what I thought it was going to be. And what I've learned on that is, hey, go ahead and cut your losses and get out and be done with it, and go on to the next one and stuff. It's okay to try something, and if it don't work, it's like buying a stock. And hey, I'm buying this thing, and I did all the homework, and it's not, the stock's not doing what I want it to do, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut my losses and get out. So
and that's the wisdom you have from just having time in the game. How many ventures have you started that just failed or you had to cut?
Well, not many that have just failed outright, but some that I have sold out of, getting just not stayed in long. Kind of like you said, you knew you were going to flip it, made a little bit of money, and went on down the road. Now, do you look at everybody's got to decide, like you're talking about, how much time and effort do you want to give to this business, or is it something that you want to just, hey, I've made a little bit of money, I'm going to move on, and I've tried that. And it's like real estate. Every aggressive person, I don't think there's anybody that I know that has succeeded hasn't tried real estate at some point in their life, whether it's buying houses and flipping them, whether it's rental property, because real estate, you can make a lot of money in it. It's something, but you have to do the homework. The very first, you're going to laugh at this, the very first rental house I bought once I graduated from college, I looked at over 100 houses before I bought the first one in this area. I literally, and I'm a numbers guy, so I'm charting everything, putting it all in my Excel spreadsheet, writing in my notepad, going back, putting it in my Excel spreadsheets. Okay, this is how much this house is per square foot. This is what it was. This is how much I think I can get for rent in it. The maintenance costs it needs. So before long, 100 houses sounds like a lot. I was willing to spend the time because I had more time than I had money. Does that make sense? And then eventually it flips the other way, where you have less time than you have money. But so when I went to buy that first rental house, man, I knew everything about. I missed some good deals. I missed some very good deals, but I also missed some bad deals. I'd rather not make a deal than make a bad deal. Doing the homework is key. There's the hard work of doing all the homework, and so once I went to buy that house, I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that if the economy crashed, if the world went to crap, I could still sell that house and make money on it. Right. Because you make money on property like that and when you buy it, not necessarily when you sell it. So if 2008 and the market's wiped out, if you bought it at the right price, you can still sell it and make money. Now, obviously, you wouldn't make as much money as if you would have sold it at the peak, but you're not going to be left holding the bag either. So that's what I would tell everybody: do the homework. Anybody can do the homework. You can put your spreadsheets together. You can go look at the houses. You can get advice on. I mean, people are willing to, but you've got to do the homework. You can't just. You have to do the homework.
100% agree, and I think that's the work that sometimes people don't want to do, and it bites them in the ass.
That's right.
But my last question for you, and I think Justin's got one after this, is you were talking about where you have more money than time. What happens when you get to that point, or not even throw money out the window, where you're just in like a time crunch in life, where you just got to allot your time to everything? How did you handle the time management? Were there some like actionables you took to make it easier on your life?
I scheduled my entire life out, and that sounds funny, but I was talking about Alabama football earlier. Give you a good example. Nick Saban, I read one time, he has every second of his life scheduled out. I mean, and that sounds kind of crazy, but when I was able to pick him up one time from the airport. When I went to pick him up, there was no small talk. When we first got out of the plane, shook hands and everything. When he got in the vehicle, using their iPads, and they were looking at recruiting. Him and this other coach were talking recruiting the entire way to the event, and then the entire way back. It wasn't, hey, Chad, how's the fishing in Mobile? How's the weather? It was shake hands, get off the plane, hey, how you doing? You get in the vehicle. They didn't waste time. So they were looking at recruits on iPads on the 15-minute drive to the facility. I mean, 15 minutes. You're thinking, well, me and Justin, and we're probably talking about fishing or this person or that person or what. But now me and you might be bouncing off ideas or something like that. But they're literally actively working. So what I had to do at that point was what I was talking about, editing my life. And I had to go through and I scheduled out, this is the time I'm going to work out. This is how long I'm going to work out. This is the time I'm going to eat. And I had literally had to schedule out my life. And eventually, that's an extreme case, but I'm not saying you got to go home and schedule out your life right now. But it doesn't hurt to sit there and say, hey, how are you going to make the best use of your time, especially if you're somebody that procrastinates a lot. I'm not a procrastinator. I do things on a regular basis and fast and don't put them off. And so that helps me. Literally writing things out really helps me.
Awesome. Yeah, that's some great advice. Definitely need to get a schedule. I've been shooting myself in the foot, just put it in my head. But yeah, Justin, you got the last one.
Do you see any ripples in the marketplace now that you can take advantage of?
Well, I spend a lot of my time now really focused on the options and the futures and the stock markets, and so there is opportunities out there. For instance, the AI has been huge this year. By staying on top of that, I was able to buy some stocks that are AI related before it really hit. NVIDIA, a company called AI, but some of those have really had great runs from where I bought them. Microsoft, some of the different ones like that. So yes, staying on top of the market. You can take advantage of it, but you have to stay on top of it. If you don't stay on top of it, you'll get buried. So to me, this AI is the next internet. We're on the very where I was on the cutting. I was the first person to sell air filters on Amazon. I was on the cutting edge there. What's the next cutting edge? And everything I can see is this artificial intelligence. The more I play around with it, the more. Now, I'm not sure exactly how I can use that to make money right now, but I've already made money on some of the stocks that I've picked. NVIDIA was up higher than anything else in the market this year and had a nice position in it. So it's already helped me make money, but actually using the technology itself, that's cutting edge. And there's going to be some people that become very, very wealthy using artificial intelligence. And I don't know the answers. Don't try to say I do, but I do know that's basically the next internet. So how can all of us on this podcast and everybody watching this podcast, how can you use AI to make money? There's got to be a way out there.
We 6 months ago started a business that incorporates AI into local small businesses.
That's great.
We put little chat GPT powered chat bots into people's Facebooks, Instagrams, and it's basically a little sales agent that you can't recreate on a salary.
Yeah.
For like $200, $300, $400, $500 a month. You have an employee versus paying them $1,500, $1,800 minimum wage.
Well,
it just makes sense.
Yeah, and you eventually will have the drive-throughs like that. I mean, for your fast food restaurants, they're going to be so good. You're going to be able to eliminate a lot of your customer support staffs because the new versions that you pay for, not the free one. They're getting better and better every day. I mean, you even see it like when you open your Snap. They get that little AI bot on that. You can answer it. What's the best Italian restaurant? And it comes back with an answer.
Yeah.
That's
if you want to know
more.
DM one of us, and we'll point you in the right direction on how to make money with AI. We can help you out with that. We're doing it right now.
100%. But I think there's like beauty in being an opportunist. Like you're saying, you saw the air filters, you saw AI. Like Justin, for example, I showed him the AI the first day, and I was like, oh, this is dope. Let me show him. I don't think he slept for like 48 hours.
Yeah.
He was just figuring out how, and then the next day he's like, yo, we can do this, 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 and this. And I think that's the beauty in like being an opportunist. Like you've seen hundreds of ideas and jumped on the top 10 because you're thinking about it, but most people aren't thinking about it. A lot of people are like, okay, AI, cool. Maybe I can use it to write an essay.
Yeah.
But not really. How can you make money on it? So if you need some help, hit us up. But you got any more questions? I think we kind of need to round it out for time.
Yeah, we're about to hit it right on the dot. Appreciate you. And how do we get in touch with you if somebody wants to reach out? Facebook, Instagram?
Yeah, any of those ways is fine. You can just message me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
We'll put his Instagram handle in the link below. And appreciate you.
Thanks for guys having me. Thank you guys for having me, and I really enjoyed it.
100%.